Let me ask you all a question. How would you feel if HOAs, Homeowners Associations, were outlawed in Florida?
Hate your HOA? Well, Florida lawmakers got a plan to get rid of them. All of them. Yeah, he wants to ban HOAs in the Sunshine State.
Yep, that's the response I thought I would get from most of you, and you're not alone. More and more homeowners who live in HOAs in the state of Florida are getting very upset with them and fed up. And today we're going to talk about some changes that may or may not be coming to the state of Florida and the pros and cons of HOAs.
Florida homeowners say they've had enough. Rising fees, lawsuits, even arrests, all tied to HOAs.
So recent discussions in Florida have seen a proposal floated around by State Representative Juan Carlos Porra to ban HOAs in the state of Florida.
And, it might just be time we take a look if HOAs are really even necessary. Maybe we should just do away with homeowner associations as a whole.
And this consideration comes from the backlash of homeowners who are tired of high HOA fees, lawsuits, and over-restrictive rules governed and implemented by many homeowners associations. Now, it's important to note that as of right now, August 2025, there are no restrictions or bans on HOAs, but there's a lot of people who are saying they're interested in seeing this happen, and they would love to eliminate HOAs completely from their communities.
Miami-Dade County, where it's just a bunch of houses. I mean, the HOA doesn't really maintain anything other than the grass in some areas, and yet you're being charged $500, $600 plus a month, when in reality, you don't see a lot of that money going back to even your own communities.
Hey everybody, I'm Palm Beaches Paul, your local realtor and guide to Florida living, and welcome back to my channel. So I thought it was time to do another walking video where we talk about some issues that affect the state of Florida and homeowners. So we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic, HOAs. Now today I'm coming to you from a nice little community called Boynton Lakes. I used to live here many years ago when my son was little, and this little park right here, spent many Saturdays throwing a football with him here, and even flying a drone one Christmas morning, and then we lost the drone. It was a cheap one, but we found it. Luckily it didn't land on someone's property, it landed in their front yard. But he would come here and we'd bike ride on this walking trail that I'm walking on, and you have all this nice area back here, and then there's a playground in the background. Now this is a city park that the town of Boynton Beach takes care of, so it's not part of the HOA, but you do have the benefit of it. But the other side of the street, the sidewalks and the trees and all that, that is governed by an HOA, and they're responsible for taking care of the sidewalks and the streets and all the entrances to these communities. And for a lot of people, they just assumed that an HOA was a good thing because it used to be fairly reasonable, maybe $100, maybe $200 a month, and they took care of a lot of stuff. But more and more in the news, we're seeing HOAs do things that are illegal, questionable, and sometimes downright just ugly. And people are getting sick of it. And so a lot of people have been complaining and talking to their representatives, and those representatives in the state of Florida are starting to take action. Ron DeSantis, back in July of 2024, passed a new HOA bill.
Now, HB 1203, detailed on the Florida Senate website, will try to ensure HOAs will not be able to misuse their authority. Things like how quickly you have to get your garbage cans out of sight.
So 24 hours before and 24 hours after the garbage truck comes, as long as you've taken them in and during that 48-hour time period, you can't get a violation anymore.
Like taking down holiday and Christmas lights. The new law makes it clear.
If you just get caught up and you can't get those Christmas lights down, you've got to get some warning.
Also, relief for people who have company take-home vehicles with logos, like police and firefighters, who've not been able to park in their own driveways.
Is putting in a vegetable garden, which a lot of people like to do. Before, HOAs were like saying, no, you can't do that. Well, after the new law passed, they can't really come after you for that. Now, the biggest one that we spoke about when I talked about these new laws was the parking of certain vehicles in your parking lot. And when the law passed, it says they cannot stop you from parking your work vehicles. Now, I had mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. There's a certain language called Kaufman Law, and if there's certain language within the documents when they started the HOA, they may or may not have to abide by the new laws that Governor DeSantis and the state passed. So that's something for another video. I've talked about it. Go back and watch one of my other videos, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can just all of a sudden park your commercial vehicle in your parking lot of an HOA community. Done. But that doesn't mean they've completely stopped. If you saw the news about a month ago, there was a lady who was arrested over in Tampa because her lawn was too brown. Now, that isn't the full story. If you saw the story, she had a lawn and that lawn was brown due to water restrictions and not watering it enough. Then she also had mold on a mailbox and a couple other things, and they told her she had to fix it, and then it went to court, and then she didn't show up in court, and then she ended up doing time in jail. But it all started because the HOA was just really being aggressive with this homeowner, and that's what people are sick of, and that's why we have people like this senator who are trying to pass laws that will ban HOAs here in Florida.
Across Florida, frustrations are mounting. News story after news story. In Hillsborough County, homeowners say their HOA spent hundreds of thousands on lawsuits, including one tied to a single ballot in a board election.
So well over $100,000 because they filed with the 2nd District Court of Appeals, and I had to pay for that as well.
In Palm Beach County, monthly fees topping $600 nearly cost one woman her home.
It's very difficult when you find yourself in a tough situation and there's no help.
And in Riverview, some enforcement went to extremes. One woman jailed for 7 days over brown grass. An estimated 9.5 million Floridians, nearly half the state's population, live in HOA neighborhoods. Porras admits condos with shared roofs and common areas might be different, but for single-family HOAs, he calls it a failed system.
I think, it was a failed experiment, to be quite honest, and we've seen over the years with the level of abuse and mismanagement that it does more harm than good.
Now, last year there was another bill, House Bill 983, that was targeting HOAs, and it was supposed to create greater transparency and oversight so HOAs couldn't do things like hide how they spent the money for certain things that they're doing in the community. And it was also going to improve buyer protection by making them provide all the documents for the buyers before they actually signed the contract. So right now, we always send the documents when we're dealing with someone who's buying a property in a homeowners association, all the documents that I gather from the seller, and we send them to them. But sometimes that happens after they've signed a contract, but they do have their right to inspect. So they can review all that during their inspection period and cancel if they see something they don't like. But this law was going to give them even greater protection and give them an out if they weren't provided all of the documents and if everything wasn't disclosed about the rules for that community. So say they went under contract and then they go past their inspection period so they can't back out, and then they find out something that wasn't disclosed to them by the HOA, it would have given them the right to back out of the contract and encourage more open and accountable governing of HOAs. But it died. It never made it to the finish line. So House Bill 983 passed 2 House subcommittees unanimously, but after being postponed in May of 2025, it died in the Judiciary Committee on June 16th. And that was the end of that and the hopes of many homeowners and potential buyers. It had initial momentum, but it didn't make it into a full House vote or Senate consideration. And that's the last we heard of it. And so as I said, it would have given homeowners more power over HOA boards in elections and recalls, making boards more accountable. Boards would have also had to provide regular financial updates, so homeowners would have known where their money was going when they approved budgets, like making sure there's no mismanagement. So if they said, hey, we're getting a new cable company, or hey, we're going to resurface the pool or something, homeowners would have the right to see the bids and get more information as to just basically taking the board's word for it. It also would have provided fewer legal loopholes. So when people got into disputes with their HOAs, there would be less legal battles and there would be easier ways to resolve them with the HOA than going to court, which saves everybody money. But sadly, as I said, it died, and I don't know where it stands right now. Obviously, you can see that the state of Florida is still trying to do things to address HOAs, as this Senator Juan Carlos says. Whether or not that gets any traction, we'll have to follow it. But so people don't like HOAs, some people love them. And so I thought what I'd do here for this part of the video is sort of do a pros and cons. And I know many of you are going, there are no pros, don't even bother. But there are pros, folks, and there's cons. And so I'm gonna switch up locations, and we're gonna go to a non-HOA neighborhood, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of HOAs. All right, I've moved over a few blocks away from where I was, and now I'm in a non-HOA neighborhood. And you obviously can tell that in a non-HOA neighborhood, you can have a little bit more freedom, like parking a boat out in the front yard, or having a house that maybe needs a roof repaired and not being told that you have a certain amount of time to get it done. Also, you have trailers. Also, in a non-HOA neighborhood, you don't have any conformity to the homes, right? Everyone can have a different style house in different conditions. I mean, obviously there's city codes that affect certain things, but for the most part, you have all kinds of homes. There's a big house over there, that big house back over there. You got a house right over here that I'm passing, and smaller homes. So this neighborhood has all different kinds of homes. These ones over on the water tend to be a little bit bigger because they're waterfront and right on the lake, right on Lake Osborne. But yeah, so non-HOA neighborhood, you have a lot more flexibility of what you can do, like having a big RV in your front yard, right? No one can tell you that you can't park that there. And from the looks of that one, it's been parked there for quite a while. So I'm in a little neighborhood called Florida Park. So let's talk about the pros and cons of eliminating HOAs in Florida. We'll start with the cons of eliminating HOAs first. That way you guys can stick around to the pros, which I know you really want to hear. See, I'm tricky like that. All right, so the cons of eliminating an HOA if you lived in one. Well, for one, HOAs typically handle the landscaping, security, pools, clubhouses, private roads, and gated entryways. So without them, upkeep may fall on local governments or not get done at all, which means you would have properties and roads and the pools and things that no one's taking care of. And then who's going to take care of it? Not all HOAs have tennis courts and swimming pools, but most of them have that, plus the gates that a lot of people like, right? The gated entryway. So without an HOA, who's going to pay for the gated entryway? And who's going to take care of the pool maintenance? And who's going to cut all the common areas, all the grass that doesn't belong on your property? I'm not. I barely want to cut my lawn as it is. It's so hot. But all of that area, the common area, someone has to take care of it. And if you don't, it's going to get full of fire ants and bugs and overgrown weed, rats, snakes, everything. It's just going to get real ugly. And then you're going to have an ugly looking neighborhood. So who's going to take care of that? Are you? No, you're not. Like, well, we'll form a committee. BS. I don't use the pool. I don't use the playground. I'm not paying for that. That's up to you. You pay for it. I could care less. I come home, I sit in my house, and I don't use those facilities. So, you know, my kids are all grown up and gone, so I don't need those things anymore. So no, I'm not going to pay for them. Another thing, if you eliminate HOAs, you would be looking at decreased property values. Some buyers prefer the uniform look and amenities HOAs provide. And by eliminating that, well, although these homes look like they were all built by the same builder, this one looks different, as does this one and this one. So with no rules, people could put any kind of fence they want. People could paint their house any color they want. So basically it would be a free-for-all. You'd have some people taking care of the lawns like this, and others who don't. And there wouldn't be a whole lot you could say about it. And when you live in a neighborhood where people don't take care of their property, it decreases the property values for other homeowners who do. And with no enforcement of rules, people could park as many cars as they want in front of their house and wherever they want. So in the grass, on the side. Sorry if that doesn't leave any room for you in your car, but too bad. There's no rules, and they can take up as much space as they want. Heck, they might be able to park an army tank in their front yard. And remember, there are thousands of communities in Florida that are governed by an HOA. So if you eliminated those HOAs, then the city government's gonna have to get involved, because a lot of the roads there are private and the HOAs cover those roads for being repaired. Now you're gonna have to have the government get involved, and that's gonna end up probably raising your property taxes, which nobody wants. So those are just some of the cons of eliminating an HOA that may already be in place. But as I said, there are some pros to eliminating an HOA. And I'm gonna go take a seat over here because it is so hot. I gotta sit down, and we'll talk about those. How cool is this? If you live in this neighborhood, you got this nice lake right here you can come out to. But you gotta watch out for the swamp puppies. They're in there. I cannot wait for winter. It is about to start raining real quick, so we're gonna finish this up. But all right, reasons that you would want, the pros for eliminating HOAs here in Florida. Well, the biggest one come to mind is affordability. A lot of people could afford homes if there wasn't an HOA, but they'll find a home that's at a good price, but the HOA is cost prohibitive. So many people have looked at homes with me and they're like, hey, Paul, this is perfect. It's in our budget. And the lender will be like, yeah, that's good. That fits right in their monthly payment of say $2,000 a month for their mortgage. But then they get tacked on with a $350 HOA payment, and it throws their debt to income ratio right out the door. It's just they don't qualify for it. So HOAs have probably ruined quite a few deals for my buyers when it made it cost prohibitive for them to buy it. So by eliminating HOA fees and just having the monthly fee of the mortgage and your other insurance and everything else, taxes, it might make it more affordable for people. So there is a good valid reason for eliminating HOAs, making it more affordable for more buyers, which I would love, having more buyers here in Florida, and creating more opportunities for home ownership. By the way, I looked up the average monthly HOA fee here in the state of Florida is between $100 and $350, but there are some HOAs here in South Florida that are as much as, well, the condos can be as much as $6,000 for the luxury condos, but I mean, I've seen a lot of them where it's $2,000 a month. And remember, that HOA fee is forever. It never goes away. From when you move in, you usually have quarterly payments, and you'll pay that even when your home's paid off. You will continuously have those payments. So as some people say, you never truly own your home, because not only are you paying an HOA fee forever, but you also have property taxes, but that's another video. Another pro for eliminating HOAs would be the fact that you could park your boats, your recreational vehicles at your house without anybody telling you what to do. Just like we walk through this neighborhood. There's trailers, there's boats, there's RVs that are falling apart, but hey, it's your property. No one can tell you not to park it there. I have worked with a lot of buyers, and they have work vehicles, right? Commercial vehicles. And some people get those vehicles to drive home, and it would be nice to be able to park that in front of your house. And I've worked with buyers who had exactly that situation, and we couldn't find a house for them because they couldn't find something they could afford, because many of the homes that were in their price range were in a homeowners association. But also all the boaters who live here in South Florida, I mean, if you could have a trailer and park your boat. There's a lot of advantages to not having an HOA, because you can park your trailer and your jet skis and your boat. You can have a monster truck, a swamp buggy, whatever. No one's going to really tell you what you can and can't park there. As you've seen walking through this neighborhood, you can have all types of vehicles. So that's obviously a big reason for a lot of people, and why a lot of my clients do choose non-HOA neighborhoods, so they can have that. But as I said, if there's even more neighborhoods to choose from, it would make the cost of living more affordable, because there'd be more homes with more options for people who have those needs. Another thing I forgot to mention that would be a big savings for a lot of people is the elimination of assessments, right? People that live in HOAs, they get those assessments when they have to do things, and by eliminating an HOA, there would be no assessments. Now, again, going back to the cons of eliminating an HOA, if you did live in a community that had an HOA and you got rid of it and there's a pool, and all of a sudden the pool pump doesn't work and the pool starts turning green, are you guys just going to let it turn into a swamp? Or is everyone going to pitch in and fix it because now there's no HOA? So you need to think about those things. And I think one of the biggest pros for not having an HOA is no more foreclosures on your property due to HOA violations. So there are people who, paid their mortgage and own their house, but due to some unknown reason, they got into a dispute or whatever, and they've got, lien after lien placed on the property from the HOA, and then when it got to a certain point, the HOA could foreclose on the property. So that's a big one, and I think by eliminating HOAs, you wouldn't have that to worry about at all. So as long as you paid your mortgage and paid your taxes, then you would be okay. And as I said, Governor DeSantis is trying to work on getting rid of property taxes. But again, if you get rid of one issue, one problem, then you have another problem that pops up, and that is who's going to take care of the schools and the police department, all those things. But that's another video. We've kind of talked about that. So, but yeah, getting rid of an HOA and not having to worry about foreclosures would be a big win for a lot of homeowners here in Florida. By the way, for any of y'all who are new to my channel, just so you know, I am a licensed real estate agent. I'm a broker associate at True Floridian Realty. I work here in Palm Beach County. My office is in Delray Beach. In that little section underneath the video where all the writing and description is, the section that most of y'all ignore and don't go to, you can find all my contact information there. There's even a link that will take you to my website. Man. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, go click on that before I get blown away. And if you want any real estate help, just reach out to me and I'd be happy to help you. So I wanted to know if homes in an HOA would sell for more than homes in a non-HOA, like similar homes. One article said yes, they actually sell for 4% higher than similar homes in a non-HOA, and that's the highest in the nation. But then I looked at another article and it said no. So I guess it really just depends on the neighborhood and where you're looking. But HOAs are favorable for a lot of people. They like knowing that everything's taken care of outside of their house and it's all nice and clean. But then neighborhoods like this, people love non-HOAs where they can park their boats and their trailers and not have anyone in their business. So really, I guess it's just a preference of what you like and what you want. So will we see the elimination of HOAs? I don't know. As I said, the senator is bringing it up, and there's a lot going on in Tallahassee. We'll see if that rolls into the next session in 2026, along with the other stuff they're trying to work on. They're still trying to get rid of property taxes. So I don't know, we'll see, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I just wanted to give you an update here about what's going on with HOAs in the state of Florida. And if you liked the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as always, wherever you are in the world, get out and enjoy paradise. My paradise is about to get rocked. I need to get inside. I'll talk to you guys next week.